Hello again and welcome, listeners, to Shallow Thoughts and Deep Shit. My name is Jefferson Lambert, and I'll be your host for this atrocity as I journey through the mind of a serial misanthrope. You can listen to this podcast for free at Spotify, Apple iTunes, iHeartMusic, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Radio Public, and Spotify for podcasters. If you like what you hear, please rate the show, subscribe, and follow. You can also follow the show on Instagram, X, Facebook, and YouTube, where you can join for extra content, new episode notifications, and more. And don't forget, you can interact with each episode and post a comment or ask a question if you so desire. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started, shall we? I am positive that I spent the first 15 years of my life mentally challenged, and then later gradually started becoming unchallenged. I was so stupid, so dense, and so far behind. I understood almost nothing and wasn't capable from deciphering right from wrong, and I lived far outside the realm of reality. I was lost and hopeless. I should be dead for all my lack of intelligence. The fact that I managed to make it to a teenager is a small miracle. The following is an excerpt that proved that I was extremely challenged for those first 15 years. Pill popper. You just can't hold a good baby down. At least that's what my parents found out when I was just months old. Like most everyone, I slept in my crib for the first year of my life. My father worked nights at IBM, and my mother was home at night with my older brother and I. I've heard stories about how my mother used to find me in the morning, sleeping in strange places, other than my crib. It was alarming to her to wake up and use the bathroom and find me curled up sleeping on the bathroom floor in my diaper, all by myself. I was a night baby, and apparently exploration was on my agenda. My grandmother suggested to my mother putting netting over my crib. Probably not the safest idea, but it was the early 70s, so anything was possible, and just about everything was dangerous back then. That idea failed, and like Frank Lee Morris escaping from Alcatraz, that netting was no match for a mentally challenged baby Jeff. Eventually, my mother had to leash me and tie me to her wrist so she could sleep and not worry about her idiotic baby exploring the house in the small hours of the morning while everyone slept. But before the leash restraint, I overdosed on one of my last excursions throughout the house. As a toddler, I can vaguely remember the morning I woke up and decided it would be great to swallow as many aspirins as I could before anyone else got up. That wasn't such a hot idea. I forget where the bottle was stored, but I found it. Child-proof caps on household packaging became mandatory in 1970, but apparently they didn't work too well that initial year. I opened the bottle and guzzled down as many pills as I could. Don't ask me why I did this. I just don't know. Aspirin overdoses are rarely fatal, but I was fucked up. I became very sick and vomited profusely and had obvious stomach pain, double vision, and rapid breathing. I have no recollection how my parents found me or driving to the hospital that morning. I do remember being carried into a triage room by one of my parents and have a faint memory of someone getting a large silver bowl for me to puke into. I got my stomach pumped and went home and have no recollection of much else. I did make a full recovery once I stabilized again. And my mother was initially worried that I'd burn down the house. Ha! That wouldn't come until a couple of years later. That doesn't kill you only makes you dumber, as you'll find out in the next episode of this series. Live and learn. Live and learn. This episode is based on a series that I call Fire, Regret, Pain, Tears, and Stupidity. It's valid proof that I spent the first 15 years of my life mentally challenged and seriously ignorant, foolish, and idiotic. There's many stories to tell, so tune in again. See ya.